So our Walk to Read intervention program, we just kicked it off on Monday. We're super excited about it. What we're doing with the students is we are putting them into a multi-tiered system for reading, and our focus is trying to find exactly what needs each individual child needs. So at the beginning of the school year, we test all of the students using the Dibbles Next assessment, and we do the assessment, and then we place the students into groups according to their assessments. We're finding that doing these interventions early on has really helped our students gain the strengths that they need and the skills for reading. Last year, specifically, we started, because it was going so well with all of our other grades, we decided to implement it in kindergarten and hit the kids right at the beginning of the school year. And we found this year, with the students coming into first grade, that they are a lot more prepared than they have been in the past. In the past, it's been a first through third grade intervention program. And during the Walk to Read times, for 30 minutes, we take all of the students, each grade level, for 30 minutes, and we break them up into groups. So we have a benchmark group, those students who need enrichment. We have our students that are at some risk, so we put them in a smaller group. And then we have our Tier 3 students. Those students are placed in a very small group. They receive that 30 minutes of intervention, and then they also come down an additional time for another 30 minutes of intervention. So we have a tiered system. So if a student is at Tier 1 in reading, then they're receiving the 90-minute core reading instruction within the classroom. If they're a Tier 2, they receive that 90 minutes of reading instruction, and then during our Walk to Read program, they're in a smaller group. And again, our Tier 3 students receive that intense intervention, and then they come back an additional time. What we really like about the program, the Walk to Read part of it, is that all students are moving. So we don't have any students feeling like they're being pulled out for something. And we get to dive in and what skill it is that they need. Data is a big component of the tiered system. Like I said, we track the kids right away. We test them in the fall, and we use the Dibbles Next benchmark testing. We also use the STAR early literacy testing. We combine those along with teacher input and the grades that the students have, and that's how we determine the placement of the groups. Once they're in their groups, we monitor their progress. If they're a student that was at a Tier 2, bi-weekly we test them and check their progress to see how they're doing. If they're a student that's at Tier 3, we monitor their progress each week. If we're noticing that a student maybe doesn't fit in that group, or if we notice their progress monitoring is getting better, then we do change the groups. But we're very closely monitoring, and we're really starting to look at the data. And that's every year that we do this program, we pick one or two things that we want to change and work on. And this year, one of our biggest components that we want to work on would be, diving into that data. We have some new assessments that we want to use and try out this year just to give us extra data. We also use a DRA assessment, which is the developmental reading assessment, just to give another assessment. I think the students like it. They're excited to go to Walk to Read. We have a lot of different programs that we use. Our big component that we use quite often in first grade and in kindergarten is our Head Sprout program. It's an online interactive reading program for kindergarten through second grade. Students are excited about that. They all want to bring their headphones and come down to the intervention room and get on the computer. So for those students that are in the Tier 3 or Tier 2, and if they're not making progress, then there's some things that we do to work on that. So after we do the testing, we work on these interventions for 6 weeks, and the teachers bring the students that are in Tier 3 to their grade level team, and we discuss the students as a grade level team. We have our special education teacher, the principal, and the grade level members, and we meet as a team, and we discuss what are some things that we need to do for this child, what's not working, what's working, what can we do differently. So we work on that intervention for 6 weeks. If we find that that's not working, then we change the routine. We either change the number of students in the group, change the time, or we change the actual intervention. And then we try the new intervention for another 6 weeks. And then if we're still seeing that student is struggling, we bring them to our student support team, our SST team, and then we look into what other strategies can we do. We do move students. We try to not move them up until we're absolutely certain. We'd rather give them the extra support. But we have had students where we move them down or move them between the groups, especially at the beginning of the year, not knowing the students. The kindergarten we found last year, it was our first year, and at the beginning of the year, so many of them came in, and not understanding the testing, and once they were familiar with it, then we shifted a lot of kids. So there's a lot of movement in kindergarten, especially at the beginning of the year. I think there's a lot of reasons why it works so well, especially at our school. We have such a collaborative team that works together. The teachers are all on board, and the nice part about it is they have a homeroom teacher, but we as a grade level team get together and we really get to know the kids. So everybody knows all the kids and they're helping and giving strategies. So I think the group of people, the group of teachers that we have, them working so well together, and being flexible if we have to change things or move students, and just collaborating, I think that's a big thing. Keeping things consistent for the kids. We make sure that the interventions that we use are research-based and we follow those interventions. And I think that's a big part of it. And coming from a classroom teacher, now in the position that I'm in, I just think it's great to see that we are, specifically looking at what that child needs and what we can do to make things work for them. The interventions that we're using, we have a huge array of them, but our focus is, and what we talk about when we choose which intervention, after we put the students in groups, then we choose what is it exactly that this group needs to work on. So we try to get really specific to their needs. So some of the interventions that we do are phonics for reading. We use the Read Naturally program. We use the Headsprout online program. We use Michael Hegarty, Hooked on Phonics. We use the PALS lessons we use. So we have a variety of different things. And again, it goes back to teacher collaboration, things that we've collected over the years. We've had teachers go to different seminars and gather materials, and it's great that we all work together and share them. But the biggest thing that we always want to say when we're working on these interventions is it needs to be a research-based program, not just pulling something from anywhere. It's a research-based program, and it's a systematic program to follow. So we have our schedule set up, so we have 90 minutes of uninterrupted teaching time, and I think that's a big part of our reading program. Another thing that our school district is fortunate, we have a newer reading series, and students are able to access our reading books online, the level readers that we have. So I feel like in our district, we provide a lot of opportunities for our students. Whatever level they're at, we're able to reach them. They do read physical books, but they have the capability to read it online. They can read it on an iPad. We also have parents that have access to all of this at home. And that's one thing that we want to focus on this year too, is bringing the parents up to speed and having them. There's so many components to our Walk to Read intervention program that we want the parents to understand. And this year, what's different from the years in the past, I've already had at least 7 parents contact me now that we've started Walk to Read. I mean, we're in our 3rd, 4th week of school, and parents are asking questions and they want to be involved and they want to know what they can do at home. So that's one thing that we want to focus on this year, is reaching out to those parents and making sure that they understand what we're doing and how important it is and how successful it is. We are working on now trying to pull in math interventions. So that's going to be another goal that we have this year. We are so excited about our reading program and the success that we see that we now would like to carry that over into the math.